An archipelago bounded by the Pacific Ocean and the South China Sea, the Philippines is located atop one of the most ecologically diverse seascapes. But it is also this very location that has made it highly vulnerable to the changing climate. Sitting astride the typhoon belt, the Philippines is no stranger to fierce typhoons and heavy rains. It also regularly experiences severe drought. Now climate change has put the country more at risk. Landslides, erosion, massive flooding, seasons of drought, and the loss of property and lives are a constant reality. For poor Filipinos in disaster-prone areas, learning to adapt is an integral factor for survival. Faced with climate change, they are now looking for ways to lessen the risk of disasters. Supported by the Australian Agency for International Development, or AusAid, Oxfam launched a project on the improvement of disaster risk reduction knowledge management systems in the Philippines. The effort was aimed at developing and adopting a system of gathering information on disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, or DRR-CCA, harnessing the understanding and capacity of those in high-risk areas through knowledge management, and recognizing women's vulnerabilities and capacities for increasing disaster resiliency. An integral part of the project, good practices and initiatives on DRR-CCA in the Philippines were documented. A roundtable discussion between various stakeholders set the selection criteria for choosing case studies on exemplary practices DRR-CCA. Among the criteria, a good DRR-CCA project must already be integrating the impact of climate change in its disaster risk reduction action, and all information being utilized are scientific, culturally appropriate, and beneficial to all. The project should serve as an effective means to educate and capacitate affected women, men, and children so as to empower them against climate change. Also, an outstanding DRR-CCA practice not only allows women to be part of the project, but actually encourages them to lead community initiatives as well. With the selection criteria in place, the call for documenting good practices resounded throughout the country. An important part of the selection process was the formation of a project management board. Composed of Oxfam and other stakeholders, it is the board that evaluated the various case studies submitted. And after a comprehensive review of several good practices nominated from different parts of the country, 4 stood out in particular. In Dumangas, Iloilo, changes in climate have put agricultural production at an all-time low. Severe droughts dry up riverbeds and fields in the summer, while massive flooding and heavy rains submerge plains come the wet season. With very little yield and dwindling financial gains, local farmers and the local government of Dumangas formed the Climate Field School. This very unique school teaches farmers to use climate forecasting information in improving their farming practices and adapt new cropping technologies. Instead of being dependent on the weather's whims, farming communities are taught how to be more resilient. As a result, Dumangas is now home to green communities with significantly increased crop production and people eager to share their knowledge.
Siyempre, ang production ng palay tumaas na rin dahil sa ang mga farmers ay sinusunod nila yung cropping method, ang activities nila na natutunan sa CEPES.
To my fellow local chief executives, pag yung bayan natin ay laging nalalagay sa risk, especially on the different hazards that we are experiencing because of climate change as well as disasters that are coming in na hindi natin na-expect. Mas maganda na rin talaga na prepared tayo in all these kinds of events na pumapasok sa ating bayan. You can always learn from us. You can always replicate this program. Pag-usapan po natin.
Bulacan is a low-lying province historically prone to severe flooding. As such, education on disaster preparedness has always been a priority. The School Hydrological Information Network, or Project SHINE, was conceived by the Bulacan Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, the Pampanga River Flood Forecasting and Warning Center of Pag-asa, and the Department of Education. With the underlying principle that disaster awareness should begin in schools, SHINE seeks to address the adverse effects of climate change in Bulacan's most vulnerable areas. Schools are provided with the technology to monitor weather patterns and climate changes. Students are trained to use the devices and disseminate information about abrupt variations in the weather.
Bilang estudyante po, kami po yung kumukuha ng mga information or data through the rain gauge, and kami rin po yung gumagawa ng graph para mapag-compare yung data and information sa bawat buwan.
But the learning does not stop in the classroom. Students are also taught to teach as well and provide early warning to communities at risk.
Yung po awareness na itutulong po ng SHINE, kasi po di ba halimbawa po napakataas na ng reading namin sa rain gauge. Syempre pinapaalam din po namin sa community around this school para po maging prepare na sila sa anumang disaster na pwedeng mangyari tulad po ng mga pagbaha, malakas na pag-ulan, para maka-evacuate na po sila sa mga ligtas na lugar.
SHINE is now a major component of science development programs and activities in pilot schools in Bulacan. The vision is for SHINE to be a part of every science class in the country. Panoramic Ginsaugon village in St. Bernard, in the province of Southern Leyte, belies a harsh truth: its vulnerability to almost all type of disasters. Its geography has made it highly at risk to landslides, erosion, flooding, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Ginsaugon in St. Bernard made news in 2006 when, without warning and time to evacuate, the whole village was buried in a landslide. It was a wake-up call for local officials. The need for an early warning system was immediate. The success of St. Bernard Disaster Risk Management Program meant having the right tools for weather monitoring and effective early warning devices. The READY project, supported by AusAid, used hazard maps to pinpoint flood-prone areas in the municipality. Flood markers, rain and staff gauges, and telemeter devices were installed. The program also integrated a hands-on approach for community members. They were trained to assess, monitor, warn, and respond in emergency situations. The program is pragmatic about the realities of St. Bernard. While the municipality is continuously battered by storms, people are now more prepared and confident to weather whatever the changing climate may bring. After years of plentiful yield, empty nets and a dwindling catch was a major problem for families along the coast in Barangay Ambao in Hinundayan in southern Leyte. Decades of abusive fishing practices using cyanide, dynamite, and finely woven nets took its toll on the once abundant waters. In 1999, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources in Tacloban City initiated the establishment of Marine Protected Areas, or MPAs. Barangay Ambao was chosen as an MPA site. Active community involvement and local government support made the MPA in Barangay Ambao a success.
Parang kami ang naging coordinator between the provincial government and the barangay or the community. Kami ang nag-facilitate ng underwater assessment with the Bureau of Fisheries and Agricultural Resources. Kami na ang parang facilitator between the LGU and the community. Kami ang nag-initiate ng trainings, ng capability buildings, information drives.
Community members developed their own unique program on managing their MPA. Women were also given an important role in monitoring. In 2009, Barangay Ambao was awarded the top prize in the search for Champion of the Seas. But the real reward lies in the rebirth of hope. Fishermen are now hauling in full nets, and the bountiful harvest is slowly being felt again. Now, caring for the Ambao MPA extends to developing a network of marine protected areas with neighboring communities.
Our upscaling strategy is marine protected area networking to do ally with the other MPAs with the neighboring municipalities. So that is also a form of alliance. It could be on ecosystem base or it could be on a cooperation with the other municipalities.
The 4 case studies were chosen as models for other communities in similar situations. Oxfam's project also revealed that many others are taking the initiative to institute good practices in their communities. These good practices and initiatives are indeed inspiration for people living in areas vulnerable to disasters and most affected by climate change. They are envisioned to serve as tools for learning, for creating safer communities all over the country. And more importantly, they are to encourage more good practices and initiatives as women and men all over the Philippines rise to the call to face this global challenge, to lessen the risks of disasters, to combat climate change.